Welcome back to the Property Legacy podcast, and today we have a very special episode and we are joined by two very special people. Welcome to Crystal and Joe, who are going to be working with us for the next 5 months as part of their T-level content creation course at college. So we've just welcomed Crystal and Joe. This is their 4th day of working with us.
Very exciting.
And we thought we'd just chuck them in the deep end, and when we were deciding who we were going to film the next podcast episode, I said, let's just film one all together, because the thing about property is you can learn about property at whatever age, and everyone has lots of different questions about it. So we thought we would get together, we would sit down, we would have a conversation, we would have an opportunity to ask each other questions, and to also tap into the mindset of two 17-year-olds, nearly 18-year-olds, and what their thought process is around property in general, what they know, what they don't know, what they might want to find out. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on camera.
You didn't get a choice.
No.
I love being on camera.
Oh, amazing. We'll do one every week then. Tell us a little bit, and the answer can be zero. What do you know about property?
Not much.
I don't know anything either. It's completely new.
So, your homes that you live in, are they rented or owned?
And
Rented.
So, you being 17, nearly 18, as soon as you're 18, you could actually go and buy a house, or you could go and rent a house, or you could do whatever you want to. Cause
I do want to move out because I do like the independence.
Cool. So, from your point of view, do you see yourself as ever being able to afford a house? To actually own a house? Or are you looking at life thinking you'll just be having to rent?
I know that the housing market at the moment is quite bad in terms of prices. Prices are really high.
I don't know how high though.
I don't know how high either.
How old were you when you bought your first house? How much was it?
I was 18 and it was £32,000.
How much is it to buy a house now?
Well, that particular house is worth about 150,000 now, which is why if you invest in property and just have that property, it will make you a millionaire one day just by having one property.
What's the average of a house now?
So in Blackpool, it's the average 3-bedroom house is about 125,000. But in some areas, like this area we're in now, you can get 4-bedroom houses for £80,000. The one we looked at yesterday we bought, that is in FY4 near the airport, that was £80,000. It's a good deal. Because if you look to Manchester, or if you look to Birmingham or London, a 2-bedroom house in London is 550,000. So Blackpool prices are really low compared to the rest of the country. And that's linked to the fact that the average wage in this area is about £25,000. So when you get a mortgage, it's so many times your salary, yearly salary by, I think, can be up to 6 times.
What is the wages in like different areas a little higher?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is a mortgage?
Mortgage is a loan. The bank will give you a loan to buy a property, but it's over 25 years. So it's a long-term thing. So the bank will, say you, like Bart's house we looked at yesterday, say you wanted to buy that house for 80,000. You need to have a deposit, and then the bank will give you a mortgage for up to 75% for a buy-to-let. But if it was to own it for yourself to live in, you could put a 5% deposit down and the rest would be on a mortgage. So they would pay your solicitor the cash so that you could then go and buy that house. So effectively you could buy a £100,000 house with £5,000.
You have to pay for it for the next 25 years.
Yeah, so
Not
yeah.
a phone contract, but a house.
Yeah.
Would you
You
say
get-
that renting would be a better deal?
Yeah, I was thinking that.
So
Long term or like short term or what?
So the difference, so if you have the money up front for a deposit for a mortgage, your mortgage payments will not be as high as what you would pay for rent. So with renting a property, all you need to rent a property is usually a bond and like first month's rent. So it can usually be, on average, what's the usual renting price?
In Blackpool it's around about, let's say,
£900 a month to rent
Yeah.
somewhere.
so you'd need £1,800 to actually take a property on and move it. So it's a little bit less of a deposit at the beginning, but then you'll be paying £900 a month for as long as you stay there, because you'll never own that property. Whereas if you have it on a mortgage, and it might cost £600 a month for your mortgage, that's how much you're paying, But over the 25 years, you will pay that mortgage off and it will be your house. It depends on the interest rate. So as the Bank of England changes the interest rates, it can go up and go down. But the rents will always go up. They will not come back down again.
Because if you bought a house and rented it out, so a lot of properties we have, we bought them, we rent them out to people. The people that bought that house still have to pay the mortgage on that house. So when you're renting the house to people, they need to be paying enough money, rent-wise, so that you get to pay your mortgage off every month, but you will also money left over. But as somebody that owns a house that other people rent, you have to bear in mind the money that you get from them. If something breaks in that house, you're responsible. If the roof caves in, you're responsible. If anything happens and someone's renting your property, it's your responsibility to fix the problem. Whereas if you get a mortgage and buy your own house, you get all of the issues that come to you as well. So if something goes wrong in your house, if your roof caves in, you have to pay for it. Obviously there's insurance and stuff like that, but that's a big difference as well.
Yeah. So if you're renting a property and the roof leaks, then it'd be your landlord that has to repair the roof. So you wouldn't have to have all those kind of extra fees. But after 50 years of renting a property, you still would be paying the rent every single month forever. Whereas if you paid a mortgage off, then you'd stop after 25 years paying that, and it'd be yours forever. So you would, and every 10 years on average, house prices in the UK doubles. So like we said at the beginning, when I was 18, bought a house for 32, 35 grand, something like that. And that house now is worth 150. So that's doubled a few times. And I know I'm old, but it's doubled a few times. But effectively, if you had a £200,000 house today, in 10 years, that'd be 400. In another 10 years, that'd be 800,000. So in 30 years, it'd be worth over £1 million.
But as the house prices go up, the national living wage goes up,
Yeah.
and more money, people get paid more money. So they don't get higher and higher and higher, and nothing changes with the money that we make. But they still can be quite hard to achieve when you've got to think about. Most people are in a position either, like you guys, if you wanted to get a mortgage, you'd have to live at home still where you're living in order to save up money for a deposit for a mortgage. Whereas if you're renting, it's really hard for somebody to pay rent and also save up for a mortgage at the same time. So a lot of people who are my age, so I'm 30, lots and lots of my friends still live at home with their parents, and it's not because they don't have good jobs or anything like that, but a lot of them are either saving for a mortgage or have saved a deposit for a mortgage but are waiting for the right time to buy a house. So there's lots of different situations that can happen with if you want to go down the route of renting or if you want to go down the route of buying. But
The problem with renting is, in the last 5 years, a 3-bedroom house has gone from £570 a month rent to now nearly £900 a month. And if people are on benefits, which a lot of people in the Blackpool area are, then they only get paid the rent up to £621 a month, and then they have to find the rest of it themselves and top it up. And what that means then is, because the market's getting further away, it means that people on benefits are having to take money that would have been for food or heating or electric or clothes and pay the top up on the rent. So it's not working well for people on benefits at the moment, and the market rates will just keep going up and up and up. Especially as at the moment we're in a recession, so the property prices are actually at the lowest point they've been in the last 5 years, and they will go up again as soon as we come out of recession. So anything you buy today will go up in value. So that property that Bart's looking at, he's bought it for 80,000. He's then going to renovate it for £10,000, and then when that's finished, it'd be worth 110 to 120,000. So it immediately he's gained £30,000 out of thin air just because he's renovated that property and bought it low.
But then he'll have £20,000 left over, so he could go, for £20,000, I could put a deposit down on another house, or I could put a deposit down on 3 free houses. It depends how he wants to use that money. So a lot of the work that Dad does is he works with people that want to invest money in property, but a lot of them may be based down south, so they've got £500,000, £500,000 to invest in property, and actually it could only really get them an investment in 1 or 2 properties down south, whereas if they came to Blackpool, you could get a lot more for your money. As well as that side of things, we also do property management as well. So what that means is if somebody wants to buy a house to rent out, what PPS does, which is a company that Ash works for, we will find property. So did you help Bart find his?
Yeah, so we helped him find it. We're then going to get it renovated, so PPS will do the renovations. And then when we'll get the tenant for that property, and then we'll manage that property for the next decades while people are renting it. And then we'll make a little bit of money on that every month, and Bart will make lots of money every month as well.
So if somebody's got money that they want to invest, they don't necessarily have to take on all the responsibilities of a landlord. So if there's a leak, if there's a ceiling break, if there's something like that, because what a property management company does is they deal with all of those things for the client. So if 30 properties in Blackpool, not all of them are ours, some of them are for other people, but if something happens and there's an emergency, we're here locally, we can get our teams out or ourselves to emergencies really quickly. So even if the client's based in London, it doesn't matter because we've got it covered. Obviously, if the client needs to pay for damages or repairs and stuff, they're still financially responsible for that. But what PPS does is we make sure that our tenants are looked after, the houses are looked after. If there's any emergencies, we deal with the rent payments and all that kind of stuff as well. So that's a little bit of a
Yeah. But when you're thinking about how much money you actually need to become a millionaire, say, or do whatever, you could buy one house, like I said, and wait 30 years. Or, like I did, I went and bought properties, but using other people's money. So we got an investor to give us some money for the deposit, mortgage for the rest. And the first property I bought in 2019 cost me £800 because I just paid for the legals. I borrowed the money for the deposit and I borrowed the mortgage for the rest. And then that property brings in about £500 a month profit every month. So that's constantly bringing in money. And over a 3-year period, I built a portfolio of £1.3 million worth of property, and I spent less than 20 grand of my money because I used other people's money. So there's a lot of people out there with cash that wants to invest their money because in the bank they'll get 2 or 3%, but if they give it to me, they'll get 8 to 10% return. So they'll get a lot more returns, and that then allows me to invest in properties in this area so that we can then help to improve the quality of the housing in the area, because some of the areas around here are quite run down. And by investing in them, it increases the quality of the housing. It means that children and families can grow up in areas that have nice houses. Hopefully it can help the community, because wherever we invest, we also then pay contractors to do work. We also then help the community by having that cash in circulation as well. And that's really what we do in all our property companies. So we've got four property companies that we run. And Alice runs her business as well.
There's more work out there. You know.
2019, which is only, 6 years ago, none of this existed.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's working the Sellafield up in Cumbria, so I'd be working away all the time, and then I'd be here a couple of days, then back to Sellafield, and here a couple of days. So I worked for Sellafield. So Sellafield is a nuclear power station, and where it's the first nuclear power station in Europe.
It's like home sometimes.
Yes. And I didn't work at Springfield, that's impressive.
No.
And I was responsible for trying to get rid of all the nuclear waste in one building. I did that for 8 years, didn't particularly like it because I was working away all the time. I'd do 13.5-hour shifts, then go to a flat, have some sleep, then come back, do another 13-hour shift, and good money, but it meant I was away from home all the time. It's something that my parents have done off and on all the way through my life. When younger, they would buy a house and live in it, and over a 5-year period they'd do it up, and the value of the property would go up, and after 5 years they'd sell it, buy another one, a bigger one, do that up and keep going and keep going. So we moved house every 5 years, and so we lived in Rochdale, we lived in Bolton, we lived moved to Cleavers, and we just kept doing that.
He sold the house.
He renovated it, yeah. So he always made money on it. And then when they retired, they had a piece of farmland that had caravans on it, they had 2 detached properties on it, and so it kind of built up over time. And then they retired, they started investing in properties. So I used, because I'm an electrician by trade, I used to help them renovate them and do stuff, repair them. But I didn't invest in property properly until I was, 48. But what this we're trying to get across on videos like this is, the younger you get involved, the more you can portfolio over your lifetime. And then you can then hand that down to your children, and then it goes down to their children. So it's a legacy for future.
That's why it's called property legacy.
So imagine 18 this week, and in the next 2 decades you invested in property and got a portfolio. And then when you have children and you hand it to them, it means that they're at a position where they could have a house straight away, because you'd have lots of houses and they could just have one. Whereas at the moment, if you want a house, you're going to have to go out there and earn the deposit. You're going to have to go out there and go and actually buy it. So it's every time each generation gets a bigger helping hand to get on in life. So you're not having to get a lot of debt.
People ask me all the time, whenever we go to property events, they was like, oh, well, have you not got any property yet? But no. But when I see what Dad's doing, it makes me want to do it as well. Just trying to build my business a little bit more and then have some money to invest, because I think it'll be.
What, do you rent a house?
No, so I part own one of our properties.
Yeah.
So we're in a very fortunate position, because security of them being our homes. It's very nice. But that's done the work to be able to make that happen. Whereas if Dad was still renting a house or wasn't owning a house, he wouldn't have the ability to give us the security of a home lot for ourselves.
So because I retired from working for a living, so I don't work for anybody anymore. Officially, I'm unemployed. But I have the properties, I have the companies and things like that. When I retire and stop working, then my daughters will go with the companies and carry on operating them. And then it'll just be handed over and handed over. Generations to come, there will be people doing this work.
Which is why we had the podcast, why I created the podcast, because it's a way, when I started doing the marketing for Dad, I didn't know anything about property. I actually know a bit about it now, but it's from us sitting like this and chatting about it and asking questions, and questions that feel like really simple questions, like you asking what is a mortgage. There are so many people that don't understand what a mortgage is, so people could be listening to this.
No, like me. I didn't know what it was.
And people that are my age in their 30s that don't understand, because they've always rented and their parents might have always rented, thinking about a mortgage being an option for them. So that's the thing as well, we could podcast so that people could be educated for free to find out more things. And it might be that you just picked up a little bit of advice on things, or something, you've learned something, or we've got people that actually will listen to this and then want to either work with us, either invest in a property and we look after the properties, or invest in coaching with Dad because they want to be in a similar situation to Dad. So that's why I have it.
What would the process be of buying a house?
Okay. So the process, first of all, you've got to make sure that you can get a mortgage. So you'll need to have wage slips or proof of what income you have. And then you go and speak to a mortgage broker. So somebody, just basically, it used to be like a bank manager, but now it's independent brokers. And we'll look at your finance records and your wages, and then calculate how much you could get a mortgage for. So generally, at this moment in time, if you were on, say, £25,000, £30,000 a year, it's 30, and they said, right, you could have up to 150,000 as a mortgage, because that's less than 6 times your wage. Okay, so 6 times is a lot higher than 150. So they were decision in principle that you could have a mortgage up to that amount. Then you go looking at houses that fit within that budget. So around here, you could go and buy a house on Claremont, or you could go and buy a house in Leighton or Cleveland, anywhere you wanted, and you look for properties that are probably the what is nice on the street that could do with renovating, but then you can see that the nice on the street, how much they sell for, and see that the difference, you know, so 120,000, and you could literally, by buying a house and spending 10 grand to renovate it, you could then create the value of that £120,000 house, and that's then your money. It's just equity. So once you find a property, you then offer. So if it was up for 80,000, you could say, well, I only want to offer 70,000. You don't have to offer what the asking price is. It's just an asking price, and the value of the property is only what somebody will pay for it, not what somebody says it's worth. They go, well, it's been on the market for 6 months, I'm only going to offer 70,000 or 75,000, and they may accept that, and you buy it for 75,000, so you saved yourself money already. Once it gets accepted, your offer, you then talk to your solicitor. So majority of the time you don't have a solicitor, so you just go and find a solicitor. The solicitor is a legal person who will then look after the contracts of buying the house and make sure that you are being after from a legal point of view. Not going to buy something that there's a covenant or something on the property that says you would have to pay an extra 50,000. So there's things in contracts over the years that are in there and left in there that could be a problem for the future. So the legal side is all looked after by a solicitor. And then they talk to the solicitor of the person you're buying off. They sort out the contract between the two of you. And then you then sign the contract and exchange contracts. So you both have contracts with both signatures on. And then from that day, you own the house.
How long do you think the process is on average of buying a house?
Is it going to get like 2 years?
No, it feels that long at
Yeah.
times.
Oh.
Normally the actual solicitor takes around about 16 to 18 weeks.
Okay.
So it's still 4 months plus. But you could find a property today, and in 4 months' time, 4 to 5 months' time, you'd have the keys.
The big thing that can stop that is something called a chain. So if you into a house, but the house that you're moving into has people living in that house and they need to move to another house, and then the house that they're moving into has people living in it and they need to move to another house, that's what a chain is. So sometimes there can be a chain of 4, 5, up to 10 properties, and you will have to decide on one day that you're all going to move on the same day. But if one of the properties, well, if you've got a chain like this, and this house here, that for whatever reason the sale falls through, if you had a date you were going to move, if one thing in the then no one can move house until it gets sorted out. So that's something that can massively delay people.
It must be frustrating.
Yeah, they say moving house and divorce is the most stressful times of your life. I know because I've done a few houses and I've been divorced twice. So yeah, I know with a lot of experience in that area. So yeah, so it's that can put a lot of people off. Whereas simply just renting a property, it's very straightforward. You would go to an estate agent that has properties for rent. You would see at the mall and see which ones you can afford, and then you apply. So it's a lot shorter process. You could be in a property within the next 3 to 4 weeks.
But also, if you're in a property, a landlord could turn around and say, I'm giving you 3 months.
Wouldn't it cost more to more renting like over time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buying a house.
Yeah.
So if you say you're paying £1,000 a month, which is the average for a 4-bedroom house in FY1, and you did that for 25 years, then that's going to be more than the value of the property.
How much would that be?
So if it was £1,000 per month, that's 12,000 a year. So 10 years would be 120,000.
Yeah.
You could buy a 4-bedroom house for 80,000, and then another 10 years it'd be 250,000, and it goes on and on and on.
Oh, so it wouldn't be in the millions, but
It wouldn't be in the millions, but you'd have spent all that money. So you can imagine you're going to work, you're earning that money. So you can imagine you're earning 30,000, 25,000, whatever it is, or more, but you're paying £1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And that's not including any increases in the every year.
Which do go up.
How much by every year?
Some areas have been as high as 14%. Some areas have been around here. It tends to be around about 3 or 4%, 5%. Which, if you're paying £700, that would be £35 extra per month. You'd have to then find.
Yeah.
And obviously when the rents go up, everything else is going up as well, like gas, electric, Wi-Fi, all of those other things. You don't just, when you go move out into the house, you don't just pay the mortgage or the rent, you have to pay for all the bills,
Council tax.
council tax. So,
And then you feed yourselves
Feed
and clothes
yourself,
yourselves, and,
yeah.
you know, so it'll disappear very quickly.
Takes a lot to live. Well,
It
to
does.
live.
Yeah, yeah.
I suppose I have a stupid question, but when you buy the house, do you have to pay like the gas and electric separately? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. So whether you're renting, buying a house, you still have to pay for all the
Yeah, I
utilities.
I thought that it was already covered when you
I kind
rented.
of thought that.
some of them will have certain stuff included, so included in the rent will be electric or gas or something like that, but literally every apartment is different. But also the rents are a lot higher in Manchester. I mean, one of my best friends, she lives in a 2-bed apartment, and I'm not joking, it's smaller than these 3 rooms that we're in, and it's 2 bedrooms, and it's literally 2 bedrooms, a hallway, a bathroom, and a living room / kitchen space. That's it. And I think they pay about 1,400, so it's £700 each. Then you've got to paying the bills. Yeah, so not everything's included, like so like prices, but obviously by living and working in Manchester, they're probably getting paid more than people that are on a wage in Blackpool. So the price is up depending on area, but it's also depending on what the average income is and stuff like that. But yeah, it does cost a lot of money to actually live, and I think when you're younger and you're living at home, you don't actually realise it. And when I moved out into my first house when I was 22, so it's just before I had my daughter, and we moved in, and the first day we moved in, I sat on a bare floor, pregnant, ringing all of the different bill companies to set everything up, and that must have taken me all day to go online and find the best offer and ring people and do all the forms and set everything up and all the direct debits and all of that. There's no how-to guide to do it, and there really should be.
Yeah, that's something that should be written, really.
A lot more people nowadays are trying to start their own businesses because it's harder at the beginning, but there's more opportunity to make more money by doing the work that we do over time than being in a normal 9-to-5 situation.
Yeah.
So there's more scope for it. But if you are self-employed, if you started your own business, in order to get a mortgage, you have to provide 2 years worth of accounts to show. So what I was showing you before when we were looking at the financials, you need to have, if you've just started a business, you can't apply for a mortgage for 2 years. You've got to be able to show this is how much money I've made for them to be able to give you a mortgage in principle for what income you bring in.
So stay at home as long as you can. It's cheaper. Your mum and dad won't like it, but it's definitely cheaper at home. Because as soon as you leave it, you really see how expensive things
Yeah.
are.
Oh yeah, it will.
They'll go up in value.
It goes literally all the time. I can even count and sometimes it's oh, this is going up £10 a month, and you think, all right, that's not too bad, but you think that's £120 extra a year. And once one thing goes up, then you get something for another thing going up, and it's just it becomes this relentless thing of well, actually now I'm having to find £60-70 extra every month for all the things that have gone up over the last 6 months. And by the time you get your head above water with that, something else will go up again. So
if you wanted to buy it, it's possible from 18, and you can borrow money off investors or family or anybody to actually get you there. But if you want to rent, then you will have that issue of paying rent for forever. But you could rent for 10 years to know where you want to live, and then go forwards. Because you go to university after college, or what do you plan?
Not direct after college.
Probably.
You'll probably leave uni with 30 grand's worth of debt.
I remember when I started uni, and it was the last year. It used to be £3,000 a year for university, and mine was the first year that it was £9,000 a year, and I went for 4 years. And that's not even your student finance. So like they give you to help you with either living at university or stuff for your course. So I left uni in 2017, almost 50 grand worth of debt from student finance. But you don't actually pay any of that back until you make over a certain amount.
Mm.
So you don't need to worry about that
Yeah.
at the time.
But then when I was leaving school, you could go to university for free. Nobody used to pay for universities. It's just the government decided to not fund the universities, so now the universities has to charge you. So yeah, it could be £10 grand a year to go to university. Because I never went to university. A lot of people are starting to think that going to university and then coming out with £30,000 or £40,000 worth of debt, you could actually start working for a living and actually earn more than that in the time you would have been at university, and then not have debt. Because everything I've learned about property wasn't at university.
So how did you learn about it?
Well, my parents knew some of it, but
Yeah.
then I went, in COVID, I went on a course to learn about all different strategies that you can use. And from there, that then helped me build my portfolio. So it cost me £6 grand for the course, and I built a £1.3 million portfolio. You don't always have to go to university unless you want a particular career that needs university. Because a lot of people that go to university at the moment don't actually do that for a job.
But I always will say to people that me going to university and doing my degree is the thing that led me to do what I'm doing now.
Mm.
So I don't regret going to university, and I also learned loads of independent skills, communication skills, transferable skills. Like when I was talking to you guys about contracts this morning, I learned about contracts when I finished my degree. Before I even launched this business, I understood about the importance of contracts and how to put them together, because I started renting out some graduate collection. So all of these transferable skills, the networking side of things, the conversations that I've had to have with stockists or pitching to people for collaborations on the runway, and there was lots of different things that went into it. So I think everybody's experiences are different, but I will always say I don't think I would have the business that I have now if I'd not been to university and had that experience. So, but also as well, if you want to go to university, you can still get a degree. You don't have to dedicate yourself to that degree for the rest of your life. You can be good at more than one thing.
Yeah, I never wanted to do, when you've got to decide what you want to do. I had no idea. And probably until I was late 40s, I didn't do. I just went from job to job, whatever took my fancy, whatever I thought, yeah, I could do that. So you don't have to kind of conform to everybody else that's at university and college. They go and you have to decide now what you're going to do for the rest of your life, because that's just ridiculous. It's like with fashion. What you're wearing today will not be in fashion in 6 months' time, never mind next year. So if you were to decide to only wear a certain fashion for the rest of your life, that would be very difficult to do, wouldn't it? So why would you do that for work? Because you might start working and hate it. It's very difficult to ask anybody what they want to do for the rest of their life, never mind somebody that's just left school.
The more that you grow up, the more you realise that all the adults in your life, no one actually knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Everyone is just winging it. I remember being your age and thinking everybody that was an adult had their lives together and knew what they were doing, and I can confirm that nobody does. Everyone is just getting by.
The 5 daughters me and Debbie have, all of them hate adulting. They'd rather not do the adulting bit and just be a kid again. I
am one of those people, as a 30-year-old woman, if there's a crisis, I'm looking for an adult in the room. I'm not the adult in the room. I can be the adult sometimes, but I choose not to be the majority of the time. I quite like not having that responsibility. But yeah, no one is ever capable of knowing, or a lot of the time we are just winging it. and we are just trying to all figure it out every single day. I realised that more when I became a mum, because I used to think, oh, parents know everything, and then when I was like, oh my god, I know nothing, oh my god, my parents, they didn't know anything. So you can be a lot more forgiving as you get older, as you grow up.
Right. So thanks for today. It was a nice discussion, trying to find out what everybody thinks from younger generations to the older generation, and that's myself, obviously. So join us next time in another 2 weeks. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and you can also find us on our website, which is www.propertylegacypodcast.co.uk. And if you want to get involved, then just put comments below or get in touch with us on our emails, and we'll be happy to chat with you and help you get to your end goal or to make your legacy. So thanks for now. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks.